Mm, mm, mm. Hey, y'all doing all right? Y'all good, good. Listen, y'all, at the time of this recording, it is 11:46 in the PM on a Wednesday night. I not too long just got in. I had a long day out doing whatever I do. Whatever that is I do, I did that. And so I did not want to not do the last series, the last few chapters of this series on the book of Hebrews. So what we did was we started at chapter 5, 6, 7. The next day we did chapter 8, 9, 10. Many of you never saw part 2 because you saw the same thumbnail from part 1 and you thought that it was the same show. Not only did you do that, but YouTube algorithm thought that it might have been the same show, so it didn't share it to many of you all. That's why the numbers on part 2 is low. So for those of you who didn't see part 2, it's on YouTube and Facebook. You can go there and watch it so that it can make even more sense, because you cannot study chapter 7 and not bleed into chapter 8, which I did do, and you need to go there and watch that so that you can get a full understanding of chapter 7, 6 and 7. All right, so you can go there. Tonight, I'm going to finish this with chapter 11, 12, and 13. We're going to look at the Hall of Faith to show you who the author of Hebrews is. We don't know who he is, but it'll show you his character and what he studied and his background a little bit so that we can get a better understanding of that. Yes, Carolyn Roan, I just responded to your email. I just saw it right before I went live. Go and check it because I read really fast. So I'll see you in a minute. Hello, everybody. Sirwalterj Jones Show. I'm here. It is the evening edition. Whew. Late evening edition, baby. For those of y'all who are still up on the East Coast, it is 11:48 in the PM. So I'm sorry. You could go to bed and watch this in the morning. But I am going to drop on Patreon the quick review, 5-minute review from 11, 12, and 13. First of all, I did ask you all to give. I took a poll. Which book should I teach in May? And you all gave me the answer. I asked Book of Genesis, Book of Isaiah, or the Song of Songs. And I would say the book of, which I'm not surprised, the book of Isaiah was number 1. There was 125 votes, and book of Isaiah won almost hands down, with the other part going to the book of Genesis. Okay. And then the last being Song of Songs. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to next week start with the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, all the way to the end. And you're going to be fascinated by what the book of Isaiah has to say. It is spectacular. And then the Song of Songs, I'm going to teach that in the men's room. Two for the price of one. I'm going to teach that in the men's room, Song of Songs, and I'm going to teach in the upper room the book of Isaiah. All right, starting next week. So if you're already in the upper room, you got the men's room and everything else. But if you're just in the men's room, then you're only going to see the Song of Songs. Okay, that's that. All right. So starting next week, I'm going to try to get some PowerPoint up. I'm going to make it a little more professional than I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to learn PowerPoint. Okay, I'm trying to learn it. So I'm gonna scratch through it until I can get my friend to come over and kind of really help me do what I need to do with PowerPoint. All right, Hebrews chapter 11. This is the great examples of faith. You all call it the Hall of Faith. All right, the faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. All right, we've been quoting that obviously out of the King James Bible more so. Faith is a substance, but this is more plain English. Faith shows the reality of what we hope for. Faith shows the reality. All right. of what we had hoped for. It is evidence of things we cannot see. Through their faith, the people in days of old earned a good reputation. By faith, we understand that the entire universe was formed at God's command. People ask you, who is God? Where did he come from? All that stuff. Your answer is by faith. We understand. The entire universe was formed at God's command, that what we now see did not come from anything that can be seen. So when you're talking to atheists, this is your answer. And if they don't like your answer, so what? Tell them to move on with their lives. Get to know God or don't. It's your choice. I can't force you to do anything. Blessings to you, bunkers, all of you who are up tonight. I bless you. I bless you in the field. I bless you when I come and when I go. We cast down every stronghold, sickness and poverty. Bears, both and blessings to you. I talked with him this morning on the phone. What an amazing anointing brother of God. I tell you, he's a brother of mine, but he's a son of God. All right. It was by faith that Abel. So here's what he's doing here. He's giving you this. Abel brought a more acceptable offering to God than Cain did. Y'all are saying that the brother tithed to God. That is the tithing teaching. All right. I'm not going to fool with that. Abel's offering gave evidence that he was righteous. He was a righteous man, and God showed his approval. All right. So this Hebrew author, this author of Hebrew, what did he do? He went to Abel. Then he went to Enoch. Why did he do that? Tells us he's not just a Jewish author. All right. He what's the word? I think he was a Hellenistic author, basically Greek. Okay. He understood the language. He understood the assignment. He understood the culture. He understood, being Gentile, but he also understood, I believe, that he was Jew. Okay. And so he went back to where the Gentiles would understand because these are Gentiles. Abel is a Gentile. Enoch too was a Gentile. Enoch was taken up to heaven without dying, disappeared. This is a type of rapture. Enoch is a type of rapture for us. But when the scripture brings up Noah would be a type of tribulation. Okay, we could talk about that when we do our Revelation stuff. All right, so let's not do that. By faith, here's Noah built a large boat to save his people from the flood, who warned him about things that had never happened before. Condemned the rest of the world. All right. Then he brings up Abraham, obeyed when God called him to leave home and go to another land that God would give him his inheritance. He went without knowing where he was going. And even when he reached the land God promised, he lived there by faith, for he was a foreigner living in tents. And so did Isaac and Jacob, who inherited the same. Abraham was confident, okay, confidently looking for it. He was looking for it to the city with eternal power. That's why God counted him righteous, because he just was looking and he obeyed God by faith. Okay. Then comes Sarah. All these people died still believing that God had promised them. They did not receive what was promised, but they saw it all from a distance and welcomed it. That's why Melchizedek showed himself to Abram first, and then Abraham got transferred to Abram was transferred to Abraham. Okay. And then what happened? And then Abraham then died. All right. He goes down into Sheol or Hades. Okay. And then the Lazarus is lying in the bosom of Abraham, which is a metaphor. And then Melchizedek, who is Jesus, they meet again. Y'all see how this is working? Y'all see how this work? Y'all see how this work. Y'all are good at seeing things that work. Okay? It was the faith of Abraham offered Isaac as a sacrifice when God was tested him. Abraham, who had received God's promises, was ready to sacrifice his only son. That's how he got in. Even though God had told him, Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted, Abraham reasoned that if Isaac died, God was able to bring him back to life. That's why. Abraham knew that he was going to obey God by killing him with the expectation of knowing, is it too late for me to go deep like this? Abraham did an act knowing that it would get rid of his promised son, but also with an expectation that God was going to raise that boy from the dead. So it didn't bother Abraham as much as we humans look at it and say, "Oh my God, he sweated, he was dysfunctional, he couldn't breathe, he was hyperventilating, he's getting ready to kill his son, and it was going to be over." No, Abraham knew or expected God to raise him. I don't think. Did y'all understand what I'm saying here? Y'all understand it? I know it's late. I know it's late. So when God tells you to do something, expect a great response from God after you obey. Expect him to bring you out of it. You understand? You're going into a burning building. I'm not necessarily saying literally God's telling you to go into a burning building, but let's metaphorically. He says, go into the burning building. You go in there because you know that God is going to bring you out unscathed. Lord have mercy. It was by faith that Isaac promised blessings for the future to his son Jacob and Esau. It was by faith Jacob, when he was old and dying, blessed these of Joseph's sons and bowed in worship as he leaned on his staff. It was by faith Joseph, when he was about to die, said confidently that the people of Israel would leave Egypt. He even commanded them to take his bones. It was by faith Moses' parents hid him for 3 months. For 3 months, when he was born, they saw that God had given them an unusual child, and they were not afraid to disobey the king's command. They were not afraid. It was by the faith of Moses, when he grew up, refused to be called the son. He refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. See, this is the stuff that you don't really see in the Old Testament in the original story. You don't really see. You see, because the Old Testament is the New Testament concealed. The New Testament is the Old Testament revealed. So maybe I said it wrong the first time. The Old Testament is the New Testament concealed. Did I say it right? I might have. I don't know. So this New Testament brings out things that the Old Testament might have skipped over, didn't need to talk about, what have you. Those magicians that was with Moses and Aaron and was doing stuff. Aaron would do something, the magicians would do something. We don't know who they were. We don't know their names. But the New Testament gives us their legal names. You understand? Enoch walked with God and then he was not, for God took him. That's all we knew. But Hebrews gives us a little bit more with what Enoch says. You see what I'm saying? So here we see Moses refuse to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. Y'all get it? You got to read both testaments. He chooses to share the oppression of God's people instead of enjoying the fleeting pleasures of sin. Wow. He thought it was better to suffer for the sake of Christ than to own the treasures of Egypt. For he was looking ahead to his great reward. He too was looking ahead. This is the message tonight. You must look ahead. It was by faith that Moses left the land of Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He kept right on going because he kept his eyes on the one who was invisible. It was by faith that Moses commanded the people of Israel to keep the Passover and to sprinkle blood on the doorpost. So it was by faith that the people of Israel went right through the Red Sea as though they were on dry ground. But when Egyptians tried to follow them, they all drowned. all drowned. It was by faith that the people of Israel marched around Jericho for 7 days and the walls came crashing down. It was by faith that Rahab, the prostitute, was not destroyed with the people in her city who refused to obey God. How much more do I need to say? He was getting ready to go all day with that. It would take too long to recount the stories of the faith of Gideon and Barak, not Obama, Samson and Jephthah, David and Samuel, all the prophets. By faith, those people overthrew kingdoms, ruled with justice, and received what God had promised them. They shut the mouth of lions, quenched the flames of fire, and escaped death by the edge of the sword. Their weakness was turned to strength. They became strong in battle and put whole armies to flight, y'all. Women received their loved ones back again from death. But others were tortured, refusing to turn from God in order to be set free. They placed their hopes in a better life. He keeps saying better, better. It's going to get better, better. Life after the resurrection. Some were jeered at and their backs were cut open with whips. Others were chained in prison. Some died by stones. Some were sawed in half. Guess who that was, y'all? Sawed in half. Anybody know who that was?